What's going on? How are you? Welcome to the 411 podcast tonight. So, we have a very special guest, Isaac Sanchez, coming in the building tonight from Hidden in the Shadows podcast. It's Tuesday, November 16th. Can't believe it. Time is just floating on. Next thing you know, Thanksgiving's going to be here. What's going on, Miss Carol Cordera? Thank you. So, keeping up with Alexa. I don't know if you are still out there, but no, I do not. So, I need you to help me out. What's going on? So if you are on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, YouTube, DLive, or Twitch, drop it in the comments so that I know you were here checking us out. And in the meantime, let me know where you are actually calling from. Go ahead and tag your friends and let them know what we got going on inside of the 411 podcast. So I've been talking about it for a long time. I've been posting about it for a very long time. And no surprise, it's MJB week here on the 411 podcast, November 18th, Barclays Center, Brooklyn, New York. Mary J. Blige, special guest, D Nice, yours truly will be in the building, and I cannot wait to see the Queen of Hip Hop Soul back on stage since, I believe, 2019 was the last time that I was able to see her in my hometown, New Jersey. So, yes, what's going on, Sev Raps? How are you doing? Welcome in. So, song of the day, I might as well just say album of the day, Share My World. Mary J. Blige, 1997. I was listening to this, and the song that I picked is Get to Know You Better. And the reason why I picked Get to Know You Better is because it gives you that nostalgia feeling, at least it does for me when I listen to it. You get the Stevie Wonder elements in that song, and the guitar on it is just amazing. It's amazing. Just when it comes on in the beginning, do 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 do, and Mary comes in. Oh man, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, Get to Know You Better off of the Share My World album. You got to really be in a zone to be listening to that song, and the way that just comes in. And if you got the right sound system to do some damage. Doing good. Great to see you. Love your headdress. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. So, but then as I was listening to the Share My World album, I'm like, I don't even know if I could really pick one song. I mean, then I went into Missing You. That's another good one. Round and Round is another one. Can't Get You Off My Mind is another one. Keep Your Head. Of course, Share My World. 7 Days. I Can Love You, Lil' Kim. I mean, just craziness. Crazy. And I was 17 years old when that was out and had no idea what the musical influence that that album actually created. Seb Rap says, Share My World is my favorite album. I'm the youngest of seven girls and was exposed to so much great R&B music. Let me tell you, I really, really, really fell in love with Mary J. Blige when the My Life album came out. And one of the most, I guess, it's an interesting spot when you're not sure if the artist that you really like is going to be able to continue to do it and continue to do it and do it and do it. And of course, she blew up with, you know, My Life took it to a whole nother level. First of all, What's the 411 was it, but then My Life took it to a whole nother level. But then 90s, it just boomed. It got crazy. You had Faith coming out. You had, Total. You had 112. You had all of these people coming out. Just craziness after that whole separation from Diddy and everything. So it was like, is Mary J. Blige coming out again? Like, Lil Kim was out, Foxy Brown was out, all kinds of crazy stuff. Drew Hill came out, Genuine, Aaliyah. Everybody was just all over the place. And it was like, all right, so is Mary gonna do it again? Like, we didn't know if all of these people had, taken her spot. Well, little did everybody know when she came out with Love Is All We Need and killed it. But when I heard Love Is All We Need for the first time, I almost lost my everlasting mind. I was like, yes, the queen of hip hop soul is back, and definitely did it. So anyway, I'm gonna get off it, but I could talk about Mary all day. But yeah, song of the day, Get to Know You Better, the queen of hip hop soul, 1997. What is your favorite Mary J. Blige song? What is your favorite Mary J. Blige album? And what is your favorite Mary J. Blige collaboration? I'm gonna just leave it at that. So we have Isaac Sanchez coming in the building tonight, and definitely want to stick around if you want to hear some ghost stories or paranormal, however they call it. It's definitely going to fill us in on that type of stuff. And you know me, I'm gonna be asking questions because I want to know. Let me tell you, this is not something that I like to really play with too much because I'll be scared for real. I'm just keeping it real. I'll be scared for real in real life. I don't play with darkness and stuff like that, but we're going to find out tonight. Again, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, YouTube, DLive, or Twitch, drop it in the comments and let me know. Apparently, it looks like we are on live spotlight for TikTok tonight, so whatever that means. So I'm all right with it and good, but thank you so much for everybody out there joining. Go ahead and tag your friends and let them know. Drag them on into the 411. We're going to have a great show tonight. Now, I want to give a very special shout out to Brianna Johnson. She was on last night, and her business, Majority LLC. Go ahead and watch the replay. Check her out and subscribe to her YouTube channel because you want to see what's getting ready to happen. Nothing but greatness is coming from Brianna Johnson and her whole situation that she has going on right now. Watch that replay. We had some real deep conversation yesterday, and yeah, just check it out. She's real dope. It's all in the cars with Kathy. I don't know if he's still out there, if he fell asleep or whatever you got going on, but thank you so much for supporting Sharice Sparks, Jason T. Davis. You probably should be on here listening tonight because this is right up your alley. Slips Gloss. I love that. Lip gloss, but it's Slips Gloss by Shonda. Shay of Heaven. Oh, there you are. It's all in the cars with Kathy. I don't know if you're tired tonight, but you probably want to stick around because this show is going to be something tonight. So this is right up your alley. You love this type of stuff. So hang in there again if you can because you're going to like this tonight. We have Isaac Sanchez from, let me make sure I got this right. Hidden, I don't know. But anyway, Isaac Sanchez is coming and he'll tell you what his podcast is. Shay Heaven. What's up, Nordia from Shay Heaven? For Shayla Jules, what's going on? Miss Rebel Jewel, thank you so much. All the way from the UK. Ian West, Please support Ian West. He has a new project out. Check him out at Ian West Music on Instagram. Mr. Farrell Higginbotham, all the way from Trenton, New Jersey, and of course Carol Cordera. I'm not sure if you're out there, but what a great opportunity I had by partnering with Carol, and she's amazing. She recreated Mary J. Blige, Super Diva, Super Mary, which is from the 1999 Mary tour, and check it out. Go to Carol Cordera's page at start with a K, Carol Art, I believe it's 72, Carol Art 72. Check her out and you can see how she recreated the lovely, talented, beautiful queen of hip hop soul, my one and only favorite, Miss Mary J. Blige. Thank you so much. Yes, Carol, there it is. It's Karol. That's Carol Art 72. Oh man, I hope that somebody from Mary J. Blige's team really gets that to her, because amazing job. Amazing job. It's Mary. It's just, I don't know what to say. It's just Mary. And during that tour, she had a song called Deep Inside, and she was saying, I'm just Mary, I'm just Mary, I'm just Mary. That picture is just Mary, just Mary, just Mary. And it is beautiful. Thank you so much for that. So now to recap from last night, if today was the last day, your last day on earth, would you be pleased with the outcome? If today was the last day on earth, no more do-overs, no more remakes, no more remixes, none. This is life. It is what it is. Today, you're done. I don't mean to be harsh like that, but it's just, it's life. Would you be pleased with the outcome, the progress, and that you've done leading up to the moment? It's all on the cards with Kathy says, yes, I did my best. Today, I would say I would be pleased so far as, where I'm at today. I'm so thankful that I cleaned up my life the best way that I know how. And I'm so thankful that, I am able to step into the new person who I've always wanted to become my whole entire life. So that is a beautiful thing when I can actually live in my truth today. Now, if it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe even 15 years ago, I probably would have been a little uneasy. And back then I used to actually be afraid of, even having these types of conversations. But, I guess with, maturity and growth and all of that stuff, I'm able to actually embrace it. And hey, it is what it is. That's why you have to live every single day like it's your last. And be careful what you do to people. Be careful what you say to people, because you never know. We never know when our time is going to come. But if today was your last day here on earth, would you be pleased with your outcome? Now we're going to go ahead and reach out to Mr. Isaac Sanchez, and star of Hidden in the Shadows. There we go. Hidden in the Shadows podcast. I was going to say Hidden in the View, but you know that that's not right. So I didn't want to say anything incorrect. But Hidden in the Shadows podcast. We getting ready to go on a journey, y'all. I want to say thank you so much to everybody out there watching. I appreciate you. We getting ready to go on this journey here with Mr. Isaac Sanchez. What's going on?
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Welcome to the 411 podcast.
Thank you for having me on.
So, question, where are you calling from?
From North Carolina.
That's what's up. North Carolina's in the house. So, how is it in your neck of the woods?
It's actually cold, and I enjoy that, because most people complain about the heat when it's hot. They complain about the cold when it's cold, but I only complain about the heat when it's hot because I love the cold. I always run hot, so it makes things more comfortable.
Wow, that's very unfortunate. I don't like the cold at all, And it's unfortunate that, and you said North Carolina?
Yeah.
That it's cold there. Like, what the hell? What's up with that?
Well, 50 is cold here, so.
It's what, 30s, 40s here in New Jersey? I can't stand it. Can't stand it. Huh, interesting. So what's better, North or South Carolina?
You know, I'm not originally from here. I'm originally from Texas. But my wife is originally from here. And she always told me this joke when people ask, oh, what's the difference between North and South Carolina? And she says, well, South Carolina is the entrance to North Carolina.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I don't know what kind of spooky, crazy things going on now, but someone out on TikTok says, how do you do a ghost? Which I don't even know how to take that, because we could go on so many different directions with that, because that's what happens here late at night. How do you do a ghost? Like, why did that come up?
It can mean a lot of different things, and I guess my dirty mind goes to something.
Wow.
Yeah. First, because I think that's what I thought it meant, but
that's what I'm thinking. Well, I will tell you that when I was a kid, I don't know what movie it was, but there was this movie where the woman was actually being beat up and she was being raped by a ghost, and you couldn't see anything except her being thrown all over the room and being smacked around. And I don't know what that was, but and years later, there was, what was it called? The Scary Movies. Remember them? Where they were like spoofs off of Scream. Well, they had another episode in there where the girl was having something going on with a ghost, but that was the funny part of it, or the funny version of it. But the original one, back when I was a kid, that was supposed to be based off of a true story. This woman kept going in and showing all of the marks and the bruises and stuff, and apparently this ghost was going to town and beating her up and knocking her all over her whole house and everything. If anybody has ever seen that movie, I guess it was around the 80s when I was looking at it, so it might have been from late 70s, 80s when that movie was out. Let me know, but apparently it was based on a true story. You heard anything like that before?
Yes. In cases like that, either there was a poltergeist activity or an incubus. Or the succubus. The incubus and succubus is essentially the same kind of demon, but it can change its sex on command due to what or whoever it's assaulting. I.e., a succubus is the female shape, so it would go after men, and the incubus is the male demon, so it would go after women. In cases like that, when women feel raped by dark entities, it's usually an incubus.
I knew we were going to get ready to go here tonight. Me, I told you that I told you before you even came on here, I am scared of stuff like this. So when I make moves in the dark, I run, I walk with my cell phone, and I'm constantly turning the flashlight on. I don't play games at all when it comes to this. So you have a podcast called Hidden in the Shadows podcast. So can you tell us about that?
Yes. Hidden in the Shadows podcast is a podcast created by me and my wife, who is my co-host. And it originally sparked from our original podcast that we had called Not Your Average Conversation, because the conversations me and my wife would had at night when we were with each other were never average. And we thought, you know what? And I was getting into podcasts at the time, and she was like, well, what if we did a podcast just this? And I was like, well, that'd be pretty cool. So we bought the equipment, started out. But we've learned that most people like hearing from our paranormal experiences that we've had our entire life, and they want to hear more from that. So we decided to create a side podcast, something to do every now and then, called Hidden in the Shadows. And it just talks about paranormal stuff. And apparently that took off way more than our original one. So we decided to, close shop on Not Your Average Conversation, and then start up on putting more effort into Hidden in the Shadows. And that took off to where it is now. And basically, we talk about everything and anything in the paranormal, everything that would normally be hidden in the shadows, and we bring it to light when we talk conversation. And now I say this in most of our episodes: we haven't experienced everything we talk about, but we've experienced most things we've talked about, and that's what makes, I guess, us different, but more interesting about our podcast is that we speak from experience. A lot of things that we talk about in the podcast, we share different ideas, different things we talk about. We also talk about our experience with those certain things, from ghost stories, from dealing with demons, from investigations we've done, because we're also part of a paranormal team that does investigations as well. But one of the most strange experiences that I think I would never have has nothing to do with paranormal. It has to do with me seeing a gnome.
Wait, you seeing a what now?
A gnome.
Ooh, I know what you're talking about. Okay, short little thing, right?
Yeah, it is actually here at the house I'm currently at in North Carolina, where I left. This is at night, mind you. I always go to the gym at night, and I was leaving, and I saw something running the car. Now, logically, I thought it might have been a bird because the way it moved, it looked like it had wings, but it flew or ran underneath the car, and I was waiting for it to come out the other side, and I was like, where is it? So I got down, I flashed my flashlight underneath to see maybe I just need to move, and there was nothing underneath the car. And I was like, okay. And then a couple of nights later, as I'm coming back from the gym, I pull up, and of course it's dark outside, and I've got the porch light on. I have these bushes that are lined up out in front of the house, and I see something small, shadow, just a silhouette of it, peek around the corner in the shape of what you would typically think a gnome would be. The little pointed hat, the little, I couldn't see his face or anything like that, but I saw the shape, and it leaned out from behind the tree. And the second I looked at it, made eye contact, I assume with it, it jumped behind back the bush, and I ran over there with my flashlight on my phone to see what it is, and there's nothing there.
You cracked me up. You ran over there with a flashlight to see what it was. Let me tell you what would happen if that same story, and I was in it. The minute that I saw something peek around with its little head like that, I would have gotten my damn car and I would have started up and I would have hauled ass somewhere. Oh my goodness. There are certain parts of where I walk on a daily basis. Every single time that I walk past these bushes, I hear all kinds of noises in there. And this is not at nighttime. It's nothing scary. But my mind still thinks, like, what the hell is in these bushes? That every single time that I walk past it, something is rustling around in there.
Yeah. I never once thought to myself that I was experiencing fair folk or fairy folk or anything like that. Majority of my experience has always been paranormal. I never thought that I would dwell into that kind of world, but lo and behold, it happened. And funny enough, it's only that one time it ever happened. I never seen anything else. I'm always worried about when I come home at night and I'm locking the door. I hear human, something small like calling to me or something. But
are they supposed to be nice though? They're not supposed to be evil.
It depends on which ones, and the small study that I did, because we actually did an episode on the fairy folk and all that, stuff like that, or creatures of the fae, as they say. They're in different kinds, and some can be malevolent, and some can be helpful. But, I guess it all depends on what you come across.
Interesting. So Carol Cordero says that her mom's house has ghosts, which, if that's the case, that's where you pack up. That's where you go ahead and put the for sale sign in, and you just go ahead and you move, because they can make your life a little miserable in there when you're in their territory, I guess. And then she also says that you are the second person that has either heard or have seen gnomes and dwarfs. Gnomes/dwarfs. Interesting. Now, Scotland, right? Scotland is or Ireland, one of them.
Yeah.
Apparently, over there in that area, there's like a secret gateway to where some of these gnomes, dwarfs, fairies, things like that live. Do you believe in that?
Well, I mean, I would never say I didn't, or I say oh, that's not real until after I saw one. And now at this point, I mean, it's possible. The fair folk, because a lot of legends come from Old English and Old Ireland, Old Irish tales and stuff like that. And but most of the information we have is from that location in the world. Now, granted, it's fairy tales. I find fairy tales, fairy stories that go from all different points of the world. Even Mexico has their fair share of gnome stories. And funny enough, what we call gnome videos. A lot of the videos I've ever seen of gnomes, you can find on YouTube, anywhere like that. They happen a lot in South American countries and around Mexico and Central America, which is mind-boggling to me. How there's a lot of gnomes in that area.
Well, only gnome that I've seen growing up is David the Gnome off of Nickelodeon. And that was a nice one, and I just like to keep those visions that way. I want no parts of any craziness. What's going on, Rob? Neek from Coral LLC. What's going on? Crazy Capital Media. Thank you all so much for joining. So tonight we have special guest Isaac Sanchez in the building tonight from Hidden in the Shadows podcast. And we talking some real spooky, creepy kind of stuff. And Isaac is sitting here telling me what he would do. And I'm basically saying what I would do. And he said that he saw a gnome and something was rushed. What did you say? It was underneath the car, or you thought it was in the car or in the bushes or something?
And I thought it ran underneath the car. And I looked underneath and there's nothing there. And then the second time I saw it was peeked inside around the bush. Funny enough, if you want a visualization, you want to see what I'm talking about, I've actually posted a picture on the Hidden in the Shadows Instagram where I use one of my water bottles as a point of origin where you can see exactly where I saw it. And granted, during the day, I took the picture and you can see my point of view from where I was from where I saw it and how. Funny enough, the bottle is about the same size as how tall it was. So,
of a standard water bottle?
It's a good size. They hold a couple liters. I would say it was about maybe
the 1 liter.
9 inches tall.
Okay. Well, yeah. I also think it's very funny how you said you thought that he went underneath your car, so you went and peeked underneath. If I thought that something went underneath my car, I'm going to try my best to get in it so quick that it wouldn't even know that my feet touched the ground. I'm getting there and I'm going to shut the doors and I'm going to lock it and I would keep it moving. So you're saying real life experiences. So you speak about things that you've seen. So what other stories do you have?
Well, dealing with ghosts as long as I have, and part of the podcast, I always talk about my infamous ranch that I grew up on in Texas. And I don't know acreage really well, at least the size of it, but I would say 50 to 60 acres, I guess. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's about in length and width, about maybe 2 football fields in both directions. So that's a good measurement of space. Everything and anything that's happened to me on that ranch paranormal, not just to me, but to my friends who went there. And I talk a lot about the podcast. A lot of my stories come from experiences I've had there. But that's just there from my childhood and most of my teenage years as well. But when I moved to San Antonio, where I met my wife, when I first started dating her, she was worried because she has been haunted ever since she was a little kid. From talking to her dead grandfather when she was maybe 1 to 2 years old, to having spirits follow her around her entire life to this point in time, where we are now. And in the time span of me dating her in the beginning, let's see, I was touched, I was scratched, I was grabbed. I saw the closet door of her bedroom, like someone was trying to get out of it. Saw the doorknob rattle and move. I saw a woman peek around down the corner at me as we were sitting on the couch just talking. And also possibly, well, most likely saw a demon in her bedroom. This is probably about a year after or so we were dating. And before I even get to that point, she was worried that this stuff was carrying off, but I told her, hey, no need to worry. I'm actually into this kind of stuff. And I told her about my experiences alone and kind of what, I guess,
let me back up. Let me back up. So you said you were touched. Okay, some people said they've experienced that. You said you were scratched. Now that one, I would have been like, okay, something else. But when you said that you saw something like trying to come out of the closet door, like trying to open it up and come out, what did you do at that point when you saw that?
Well, it happened one night because I worked overnight at a grocery store as an overnight stalker, and my sleep schedule would be off from hers. So when I come over to her place, I would spend the night there, but essentially it would be her sleeping and me just hanging out most of the time. Because we would basically hang out until we just talk and stuff, and until about 1 or 2 when she couldn't stay awake and when she fell asleep, and I would just stay there watching TV until the next morning when she went off to work and stuff like that. So I kind of just stayed there with her the majority of the time when we first started dating. And those times being over at her place at night, watching TV or whatever is on, one of the times that we were laying on her bed and she was sleeping, I was just laying there watching, I think it was something on whatever TV, but her TV was mounted right next to the closet door. So my line of sight was at the TV and the door, so I could see both in my sight. What I saw was the door handle jiggle like someone was inside trying to open it and come out. Now, no one's there. No one's in the house, but no one's in the apartment but us. And I'm like, I was staring at it. I was staring at the door. I was waiting for it to open and someone to come out, and for me having to jump up the bed and fight whoever this is in the room. But no, the door handle just jiggled like somebody was trying to open it, and that was it. I stared at the door. Like I would watch TV, and my eyes would go back to the door, the closet door. Watch TV, go back to the closet door. Watch TV, go back to the closet door. Like I was watching the whole night. And I told her about it. She goes, "Oh yeah, that happens every now and then." I'm like, okay.
This is what would have happened if this happened. See, this is so funny because let me be sitting there watching TV and I see something like that happening. You're sleeping. I'm gonna get in my car. I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna call you and I'm gonna say, listen, I don't think that this is gonna work out. I give you credit for hanging out there, and now she's your wife to this day. But let me tell you, that relationship would have been over. Unless you move, I'm not coming back there. I ain't doing it.
Well, here's the thing. It didn't matter where we lived.
I know what you're saying. It followed you, yes.
Yeah. It was always haunted. Even so, because we moved from San Antonio to a small town outside San Antonio called Spring Branch, where we got it was like a trailer kind of nice. They sold it like a house, but we lived in the trailer. And that place where it was located in the back part of it was woods. We experienced a lot of stuff there, from actually seeing Megan's doppelganger. If I don't know how much you know about ghosts, but there's specifically one kind of spirit called a doppelganger that will copy you and appear as you. So much so that we had her sister over one time.
Everyone has that?
That spirit can copy anybody. And I was saying anyone can have a doppelganger, but the ghost itself is called a doppelganger, the German word for copy or clone. But her sister was over one time, and this is when I was at work, I think, and she was calling for Megan because she saw Megan walk down the hall into our bedroom. And then Megan showed up behind her and said, "What do you want?" She goes, "Oh my God, I saw you walk in the room." Like, "What are you talking about? I'm right here." Like, who was at the walk in the room? They both go to the room. No one's in there. Yeah, she clearly saw her sister walk out of the bathroom into the bedroom, but she only saw the back of her.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Poltergeist. I don't know if you've seen what is it, part 3, where there's all of these, I guess, doppelgangers of Carol Ann running all over the hotel. You remember that one?
Yes, I'm trying to. It was been a long time.
They were in this hotel, this New York or wherever, and there were all these mirrors around in this hotel, and they kept thinking that it was Carol Ann, but it wasn't. It was the poltergeist or demon or whatever. Craziness. Carol Cordera says that she witnessed something like that. When we moved to the house, I was going downstairs and I saw my mom down. I asked her to wait for me, but she didn't. Once I was down, I asked her, "Why didn't you wait for me?" And she told me that wasn't me. Hmm.
Now, in our current situation where we are now, I know you always talk about like fear and stuff like that, how you said you wouldn't ever deal with this thing. And most of the time before September of last year, I'd probably feel the same way. But here, you thought everything was weird up to this point of this conversation as of yet. Now, here's where I blow your mind farther than anyone probably ever has. After September of last year, now, the reason why my wife has been haunted for her entire life is because she's a psychic. And I don't mean psychic like she can read your palm and stuff like that. Her ability lies in almost every form of clairvoyance, audio clairvoyance, any kind of psychic ability of speaking to the dead that you've ever heard of. She's almost like a jack of all trades when it comes to it. She is very proficient in speaking to the other side and getting emotional messages versus actually hearing the verbal words.
Mm-hmm.
But after September of last year, I joined her in that sense of realm as becoming not a psychic per se, but I gained an ability unlike anything we've ever heard before. My ability, as it's yet to be defined 100%, we call a shadow walker. My ability lies within my hands, and it's the sense that I can feel the energy of the dead, but not just feel, I can pull the energy of the dead into me and basically absorb that energy and take it off the plane. My left hand, when it charges, and that's a sensation I describe as when your hand goes to sleep, that numbing, tingling sensation in your hand. When my hands charge, it tells me the spirit's near. And the more the charge sensation is through the palm of my hand, the closer or stronger the entity is. Now, what I've learned through practice and investigations I've done, my left hand, when it charges, is a person, a human spirit, somebody and anybody, you, me, so forth. But when my right hand charges, that's something dark, that's something evil, that's something demonic, that's something on the evil side of the spectrum of the spiritual realm. And when it comes to dealing with these things, I never really like taking a person off the plane because that's like kicking someone out of their house. Like they're their thing. But a dark entity has no reason to be in a certain location, and I have no quarter of taking these entities off the plane. I pull them, absorb the energy essentially into my hands or my right hand, and I basically rip that energy off the plane, erasing them essentially from that location for a time being. Sometimes permanent, sometimes they can have a chance to come back depending on the entity. Now, what most people ask is, where does that energy go?
Mm-hmm.
My body works like a filter system, as the best way I describe it. I guess I absorb that energy in and filter it and then express it almost like a breath out of myself. Not like the Green Mile. There's nothing, you can't see black lotus things flying out of my mouth. But it's almost like neutral energy that leaves me. And the sensation feels like when you get a chill run up your spine, you go, like that kind of that feeling. And then I, of course, expel a breath and the energy leaves me. And two things really trigger this faster, the sensation of the filtering process, I guess, or the expression of neutral energy is white noise and water. Those two sounds, either together or by themselves, can speed up the process. And after practicing, or not practicing, but using this ability, as long as I had investigations, I become proficient, and it's to a point where now the ability is not just whatever's in front of me that I can feel and pull with my hand. I can also now place my hand to the earth, or ground, or basement, or a building, and I can feel it, and I can feel the energy of the entire area sometimes, and pull everything in that area to me. As far as I've reached out and pulled energy into myself, it has been a farm, a building, an entire library, an entire house, a couple of blocks of a neighborhood, of an area of space that I pulled into myself. And it's almost as far as my mind's eye can see when it comes to that.
I would say.
And so,
no, go ahead.
And so far, like we said, I've actually met a couple other psychics that have this ability, but it's not exactly alike. It's almost like their ability is a form of mine, but they're also a psychic with other psychic abilities. And the other psychic that I met, she could push out of her hand and almost like stuns dark entities and make them back up. The other psychic I met, she was actually in Australia. I had a fun conversation with her on the phone. She pulls light energy into her of an entity, of a person, and helps transfer them or cross them over to the other side. And that's what she does. Mine is essentially just focused based on taking out dark entities and pulling the energy and taking them off the plane. So it makes me a powerful weapon, essentially, in an investigation, because nothing that could scratch you, could push you, could hit you, could do anything to you, is not going to get close enough to do that before I rip them from the plane.
Oh, I got what you're
Hence
saying.
why I have no fear when doing an investigation, because nothing that would do things like that has a chance to anymore.
Interesting. I was going to say, with all of that pulling in and taking out, you ever feel, well, you said no, but what if you pulled something in that was just so powerful and it took over you and turned you into an evil being?
That is not 100% a concern. And the reason I say that is because I'm shielded. And I'm not, in a sense, shielded that it's like nothing can ever happen, but it's to a point where it's other psychics that we've met, and believe me, we've talked to a lot of psychics through our time on the podcast, from bonus episodes recording with different people. We actually met a few in real life and stuff like that, and they've all described when they look at me, it's hard to look at, or not so hard to look at. It's like it's staring at a door that's closed with light around the edges. You know something's behind there, but you just can't see what it is. There's something blocking them from seeing what's behind the door. So it's almost like what the other psychic on my team, Mike, who is very proficient. He's almost shamanistic, as we say. He's very older, and his connection to the other side is very strong because he's died 3 times and has come back. And each time he comes back, he's more connected to the other side. Of course, anyone would be. But he says, "Is that I'm shielded? Like I have a block on my mind's eye or something that protects me from outside interference." But it's also the reason why I can't hear them. I can't hear spirits. I can't see them as any other psychic would. It's like this is technically all I can do. As most of the psychics that have somewhat a similar ability, they have the ability to talk to the side, to hear ghosts, to hear spirits, to feel their emotion, like my wife does. But I have none of that. What's in my hands is all I can do, which is I don't really relate it to a psychic ability, though it is a form of a psychic ability, but technically this is all I can do. So the only other case that something happened that I pulled something that didn't make it to the filtering process is a hag. Which, if they know anything about ancient stories, what talk about the hag is a witch-like creature that will sit on your chest when you sleep.
I'm done. I'm so done.
What?
Because I was going to ask you about that. God, it happens all the time here on this show, I swear, where I'm thinking of something and I'm going to say it, and you and I never discussed this at all. This wasn't scripted, and then it just comes out anyway. I was going to ask you about that because that is one of my fears, and it's so weird that you brought it up. What's going on, Jetta from My Rap Tribe? But go ahead and talk about. Go ahead.
So synchronicities, and the more you pay attention, the more it starts making sense. But the one case I had with the hag, because Mike, like I said, the psychic on our team, asked, "Do you have a hag at your home? Who is that sitting on your chest?" And I'm like, "Who are you talking about?" And this is, mind you, after I've had the ability, so I should have detected her. But until after he acknowledged her existence, is then I detected her. And she ran from me. And my wife could know that because she could see her running. And in her midst of running, I pulled her into myself, and I pulled all the energy, and I got her. Now, in the process of pulling, it felt different. It didn't feel like the usual time. I describe the entities that I pull as smoke and sand. Smoke, tangible, you can feel it. It's easy to feel it. It doesn't really cause much coercion to your body. Those are light and dark, or dark entities, your normal dark entities. A pissed off person, nothing of a major threat. Well, to me anyway. Sand is a little more coarse, harder, thicker material, so that causes no more pain. And yet, I do experience pain sometimes in my arm from stronger entities, almost soreness, like somebody's trying to pull down my arm at my bicep. But when I pulled this, it had that sand level thickness when I pulled it and caused me a little bit of pain. But it was a thought process afterwards. And 30 minutes to an hour afterward, I was talking to my wife and we talked about what I did. And a thought came in my mind that was not of my own. Was calling my wife bitch in my head.
What?
Right?
Oh my goodness.
Right? And I was like, that's not my thought. That's not mine. So I told my wife, we'll go into a meditative state, see if you can find them or find it. Right? So I listened to some binary beats. I put myself in a meditative state. I focused on my mind and I tried to find her. And in the meditative state, I did. I found what looked to be a old woman wearing a gangly dress that was gray and tattered and torn. Her hair was gray. It was like just like not taken care of at all. And she was like sitting on the ground, wrapped her arms around her knees, looking at me with fear as I found her. And I remember grabbing her from the back of her neck and dragging her towards like a giant furnace. And the fire was like blue. It was blue flames. It wasn't red or anything. And I remember opening the door of the furnace and throwing her into it and saying, bitch, you get filtered just like the rest.
Wow.
And yes, the thoughts were gone. The process happened. And no, I haven't had any kind of influence for anything dark or any kind of possession or anything like that.
Interesting. Yes, old hag's disease or whatever they call it, or not disease, but old hag syndrome or something like that, where you feel as if somebody's sitting on you and you're sleeping and you're screaming, trying to get out of your sleep, but you can't because something is sitting on you. Has anybody ever experienced anything like this? It is the most terrifying thing one could ever experience, I would say. And then also, I was told that if you don't wake up in time, then that's it. So, yeah. Some people say that it is triggered by eating late at night. Have you ever heard of that? That eating heavy foods late at night could be the reason that you could be experiencing something like that. But I don't know.
More of that's like the old wives' tale kind of thing. But just to keep kids from eating sugar at night. You have bad dreams if you eat sugar at night.
No, this is no bad dream. This is somebody sitting on top of you, not letting you up. No, that ain't no bad dream.
Yeah, I know. No, I understand what you're saying. Just saying like what people say not to eat at night because they'll cause something like that. So when it comes to that entity, the old hag or the hag itself, it picks and chooses who it goes after. And why would it come after me is mind-boggling to my. This ability has allowed me to walk into investigations that would be dangerous for most people without fear. And believe me, I've done things that have surprised my own self. One location we were actually at with a library, an old library, that was originally used as a children's hospital back in the early 1900s, I believe. There had tuberculosis, if I'm saying that right, tuberculosis disease that happened, and it infected a lot of children. A lot of kids died at that hospital time, and that was a library. And that library had a lot of entities there, a lot of them, due to the fact that there's apparently a portal open on the second floor. But it also had 3 dark entities that were kind of bullying and keeping everyone in line. And I was taking them out one by one by one, and I was pissing them off to a point where we followed one down to the basement of this building. And this building, granted, you probably built in the 1800s, and the basement, there's old concrete, old stone, looked like it was from that time. And I wanted to go to the base of the building, so when I pulled from the entire building, I pulled everything, not just what was connected on the street level. I wanted to pull everything that was underneath. And we had Ghost Tube on. Now, granted, there's not a lot of paranormal apps out there that I would give an endorsement to, but Ghost Tube and Necrophonics are probably the two best, most proficient at catching or communicating with the other side as all apps you can get on your phone. Granted, you have to pay for Necrophonics, but I think Ghost Tube's free. Anyway, but we're using Ghost Tube. It kind of works like a phonetic thing. It gives you a word or a sentence of whatever the spirit's saying. And we were in the basement, mind you, and I was getting ready to do the pull. I was putting my hands to the ground, the concrete of the building. And it said, Ghost Tube, stop, don't do this, shut up. Like, basically telling us to be quiet. Don't do it like that. And when I pulled the building, I pulled all the energy, and it was thick, and it was hard, and it was tough. There was a lot of energy I was pulling at one time. After I did pull, the Ghost Tube was quiet. Nothing came through. But what was extremely strange is on the ceiling of this basement. Mind you, I'm 5'10". The ceiling was probably about, 6'5". I could touch it from standing underneath it. But what we could see clearly was these fingerprints, like fingers, not scratches, but in the dust of the ceiling, being like someone was holding on, being dragged to one location. And the size of these fingerprints were almost triple the size of my hand. They were huge. And it looked like something was holding on to the ceiling and being pulled in one direction towards me.
I don't know. These stories are something else. I told you before we even got started. So, wow. Isaac Sanchez, Hidden in the Shadows podcast. Amazing. We definitely would have to continue this. I would love to have you come back on a show in the future. We definitely would have to work something out. So in the meantime, let us know where we can go ahead and catch this podcast.
Hidden in the Shadows podcast, you can find on all platforms. You listen to any podcast, essentially, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, wherever like that. Our Instagram, Hidden in the Shadows podcast, same. Or you go to our website, hiddenshadowspodcast.com, which has links to all our social media, all links to where you listen to us, our merch store, and stuff like that. And also, if anyone listening has dealings with the paranormal that they could use advice from or need help with, because one of the main things my paranormal team does is we love helping people regardless of where you are. My paranormal team is Shadow Walker Paranormal on Instagram. You can message us there if you need any help with any kind of case or just advice on anything you're dealing with.
Wow. Now, are you on, you said other social media platforms. Are you on Facebook? You're on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, like Jetta from My Rap Tribe said, I do not need to hear this right before bed. And that is the same thing that I'm thinking. But after we get off the show, I'm going to make sure that we are all set and ready to go before I go to bed. Craziness. Thank you so much, Mr. Isaac. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
All right. Take care now.
You too.
Well, y'all, there you have it. Hidden in the Shadows podcast. Some crazy stuff. And that old hags thing, that's nothing to play with. I don't know if anybody has ever experienced anything like that before at all, but that thing is nothing to be played with. Some people say it happens when you eat late at night. I don't know. But whatever it is, I want no parts of it at all. I want to thank everybody out there for hanging out there with us tonight. If you were on Facebook, thank you so much. Very special thank you to people out there on Facebook last night. A few people came through, a lot of new faces that I've never seen before. So thank you so much for coming in. Twitter, YouTube, D Live, Twitch. If you're out there, drop it in the comments and let me know. Mick out there on TikTok, thank you for joining as well. Something new has showed up. It says we are in the spotlight for TikTok tonight. So, hey, we are in the spotlight on TikTok tonight. That's the only thing that I could say. Oh no, I will sleep good tonight because let me tell you, between TD Jakes, between Stephen Furtick, between Joel Osteen, between my audio Bible, oh, I'm gonna sleep good. I'm not gonna let anything that we talked about here tonight interrupt my sleep tonight. Oh no, trust and believe I'm gonna be wrapped up. And I got my white light candles. They always burn before we even, start the show. So I know that I'm covered. And yeah, if you like to support the 411 podcast or Reading Between the Wines, go ahead and click that link above. All of my social media platforms. I'm so thankful to be on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, D Live, and Twitch. Click that link above and go inside of My Inspirations Volume 1 Deliberation, and you can purchase my book for $9.99. And in that book, you're going to get some scriptures, quotes, themes centered around some of my greatest public figures that I look up to. And number one, Miss Mary J. Blige. So you're going to go on a musical journey and check out some scriptures, quotes, and themes, and heavily centered around the Queen of Hip Hop Soul. But you're going to get likes of Shaka Khan, Stevie Wonder, Curtis Mayfield, Esther Roll, Martin Luther King. Did I say Malcolm X? Betty Shabazz. The list goes on and on and on and on. Faith Evans, Notorious B.I.G., Missy Elliott, Tupac, just to name a few. Michelle Obama. All kinds of stuff is wrapped up in that book. Plus yours truly as well. I'd like to thank my executive producer for allowing me to come out here and give you the 411 podcast one more time in life. Because without him, none of this would be possible. I wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here. So I just want to give thanks where it's due. And it's definitely due there. Coro LLC says, come through Jesus. Yes, please do tonight because I ain't playing games with it. So tomorrow, 8 p.m., Reading Between the Wines. We have author Irene Hill. And of course, we're going to have the whiskey drinking, crazy thinking, shit talking that I ain't walking miss. It's all in the cars with Kathy. You stayed up tonight. Any other night you fall asleep with some crazy stuff like what goes on here tonight, you find a way to stay up and go through and comment and carry on something else. But we'll talk about it tomorrow on Reading Between the Wines. Don't forget, it's going to be 8 o'clock, not 10 o'clock. So get your wine, get your bottle of wine, get your drink on, do whatever you need to do. Because it's going to be Wine Down Wednesday, Wine Wednesday. So we'll see what we got going on. See y'all tomorrow night. Reading Between the Wines. Take care. Very special shout out to Isaac for getting us all crazy right before we go to bed. Good night, y'all. See you tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Take care. Good night.